Hey guys, welcome to I'm Not Racist, My Friend's Black. We have a special person here with us today, Angela Sulai, and she is a Reiki healer. You guys?
Reiki.
We actually met because we were on set, and she was my makeup artist. And you know what's funny? I always talk about, like, I don't often get to see, like, women of color who are my makeup artists, so I was happy. Thank you. Thank you.
She's multi-talented.
Exactly. Do you want to quickly just tell people what you do or what your passion is or what you love?
Yes. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. That's already a really nice compliment.
Thanks.
When you're happy when you see me on set.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that. So, yeah, I'm a makeup artist. I'm an energy healer and intuitive coach and a beach lover. And I want to be poet. And I'm from Switzerland, so I'm Swiss American, and how my coach says, Afro-amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
Afro amazing.
Right?
Yeah. You need to copyright that. I love that.
Well, it's not mine, so I
You just got to use it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Somebody got to.
Yes. And then, so you said, what was your ethnicity again?
Swiss American and Afro-amazing.
Okay. Yes. Love it.
Yes. So how often do you go back to Switzerland?
Well, I used to live in New York before, and I would go back about 4 to 5 times a year.
Nice.
Now that I'm out west, it's like 1 time a year.
Yeah,
because
totally.
that flight is long.
Yeah, it is.
You've been to Switzerland, right?
Yeah, I played there a couple times. I love it. Super clean. It's just one of those cities or the country of Switzerland has their shit together.
You think so?
Yeah, everything's just on point. There's no trash. I didn't see any homeless people while I was there.
Really?
Everything was like spotless. One of the cleanest countries I've ever been to. Yeah.
Because didn't they, like, with the lockdown and stuff, like, they got it together first, right? I feel like. Didn't they, like...
They got it together real quick. Yeah.
They got it together real quick.
They're very organized.
Yeah.
And it's true. It's very clean.
Yeah.
It also shows in their mentality.
Yeah.
Also a little bit narrow-minded.
Yeah, they're a little bit more conservative. What was it?
Got it.
Was it ASAP Rocky? Or yeah.
Oh yeah, when he got into the fight.
I think it was either Switzerland or Norway. Honestly, I always mix them up.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's probably culturally. It's. I mean, I've been to both. It's probably pretty similar. But
Probably. I've never been to Norway.
Are there a lot of black people in Switzerland?
Nowadays, yes.
Okay.
Or more. Not.
Okay.
When I grew up, it was completely different. I was the only one in my neighborhood, in my school, in the school next door, and the other school, and I was the only one.
Wow. And then, do you speak another language?
I speak Swiss German.
Swiss German. I don't even
wait. So Swiss and German, or is that like its own thing?
Swiss German is a spoken language. We write and read in German.
Oh, okay.
Oh, got it. And do you practice it often? Like, do you have people here?
Well, I still have my friends, and I use FaceTime and Zoom and all that to keep in touch. So I still use it. I have a few Swiss friends out here, so I still get to speak it and mix the both languages up all the time.
I need to learn another language, I feel like.
What would you learn?
I mean, obviously Spanish, but I don't know. Maybe I want to learn French.
Ooh, French is hard to learn.
Or
For me, it was really hard. Yeah.
Italian, done. You know, have my love for Italy.
That's romantic.
She's trying to move there.
Yeah, I am.
I love Italy. Anything Italy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm obsessed with the food and the culture, and I really want to live there because I want like a house on like a mountain and like have my own little garden.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I'll come and visit.
Yes, please.
Yes.
And like help me like cook things from my garden and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I could do that in America, but just it's different.
Yeah, it's different. It's a different atmosphere.
Yes, totally.
And the food is definitely.
Oh my God. The pasta?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Like if people ask me what my favorite food is, it's Italian. And if I would have to choose one time for the rest of my life, it would be Italian.
Yes.
And I would be happy.
I agree. I could eat pasta every day.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. So I'm going to get into my favorite part. I say this every time because it is my favorite part, but I just like to ask.
Like, damn, every time it's your favorite
I know
part?
it is, but I just love to ask people questions about themselves because I feel like it gets the audience to know you better. So also, again, you don't have to answer profoundly. You can just answer the first thing that comes to your mind. Mm-hmm. Okay. If you could travel back in time and meet any person, who would it be?
Oh. I feel overwhelmed. I don't know.
For sure. Or like meet anyone in the world, either living or dead.
Yeah, like maybe it's a healer.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Gandhi.
Ooh, speaking of Gandhi, I read some things about Gandhi.
No.
That
definitely
didn't
not
sound like
Gandhi.
good, like good stuff.
It's not Gandhi.
Yeah, I've read some pretty bad things about him.
Oh, maybe my grandmother.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
That family history, it's important.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
And when you're young, you don't think to ask certain questions to your grandparents, but then when you hit a certain age, you're like, damn, my great grandpa fought in a major American war.
Right.
And I never asked him about that. And maybe he wouldn't have wanted to talk about it, but
it would have been nice to have the opportunity to talk about it.
I could have asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I never met my grandmother, so.
What country was she in?
Switzerland.
Okay. That's a good answer.
It is a good answer,
It
especially
is.
because Courtney, she has moments where she talks to her relatives
All the time.
on an energy way.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to describe it. Court could probably describe it better.
I totally understand.
Yeah, sometimes like first of all, I see my grandma a lot because I always see butterflies, and for some reason I just know it's her. But I talk to her all the time. And then if I like focus on her a lot or talk about her like throughout the week a lot, I'll have a dream about her. And recently, this is kind of creepy, but
No, it's not. It's actually the most natural thing.
yeah,
in my opinion.
I agree. I had a dream that both of my grandmothers, who actually, one of my grandmas is alive still. She has dementia, but she's from Guyana, but born in Greece. I had a dream that they both possessed me, but not like in a demonic way, but just more so like in a way of like they were like coming through me, and in a dream. It was kind of scary.
How did it make you feel?
I don't know. I think I'm so scared of the idea of possession that I was like a little nervous because I was talking and it was my grandma's voice. Yeah.
Because usually what I say with dreams, and I'm no expert at all, but I feel like it's not so much the story and the people that show up in your dreams.
Yeah.
It's more how the situation makes you feel.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I should tap more into that because it's kind of scary, but it was nice to see them. Okay. Next question. What is one of your favorite books?
Probably The Power of Now.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite all-time books.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's just
there's
such a
so many
Right.
amazing
Eckhart
books,
Tolle, yeah.
but that's what just came to my mind.
yeah, Eckhart Tolle, man. That was one of the first books where I really took it serious of just the idea of being present and the idea that it can make you perform better or just be better at your job or be better as a lover or anything.
Same. And it's funny because I read the book probably like 17, 18 years ago, and I never finished it because I didn't understand anything about it.
Yeah.
It was just like, I don't know what he's talking about. And then I read it again maybe 6-7 years ago, and it hit like big time. And it was really a turning point for me reading that book then.
Yeah. Timing is everything, I feel like. Definitely. And what's funny? I feel like whenever I like go to someone's house or something, I always see that book. Do you know what I mean? It's always around.
Yeah, Southern California, it's got to be a best-selling book.
Yeah.
Not only in Southern California.
I'm sure
I've
everywhere.
seen it in New York in several apartments.
Yeah. And you always see it too because it has like that greenish, bluish, yellow kind of like
It's a very,
tie-dye.
very distinct.
You know what
It's
I
actually
mean?
like this shirt
Yeah,
kind
it
of.
kind of looks like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's so funny. But great book. Okay, so what is one thing that you've learned about friendships or relationships that has helped you out as an adult?
That they can replace family.
Yeah, I like that for sure. Okay, if you could live in any place in the world, where would it be?
LA, that's what I chose.
Yeah. Okay. It's funny.
I
'cause-
try not only to dream, I try to go after my dreams.
Yeah.
So right now it's LA.
Yeah, I love that. Okay.
Yeah, the makeup artist needs to be around
True.
the beautiful models and actresses, make them look pretty.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny because whenever I ask people that question, they're always like saying something profound, like I would live in Tokyo. But that's interesting. You're like living where you want to live.
Yeah. That's something I learned from my childhood. that I never want to regret not trying something.
Yeah.
Because my mother probably regretted every decision in her life.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to copy that. So for me, it was always like, you have to try. I just do not want to regret not trying.
Yeah.
And it showed specifically in me moving to places where I wanted to live.
Right.
And I've done a couple times.
You lived in New York?
Yeah.
Do you love New York? I love New York.
Yeah,
I get it.
She's like, well, now I don't want to
either
hurt
love
your
New
feelings.
York or they just it's a love or hate relationship.
Yeah. I mean, I loved it. I loved it as an experience. And when I moved there, I also knew I'm not going to stay there.
Yeah.
I'm very, very grateful that I had the opportunity to live in New York for a couple of years.
Right.
But New York and I are done.
Yeah.
But we separated with much love.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're done.
I get it.
You had that awareness that I'm just passing through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is just a phase of my life. It's
I'm gonna
not going to
enjoy
be forever.
it and
Yeah.
gonna take the best out of it and then move on.
Yeah.
And that's what I did.
It does take a certain type of person to want to stay there for a long time because it's very fast paced and sometimes it can be dirty and sometimes it can just be a lot and like you can get detached, I feel like sometimes, and I understand.
It's high energy though. If you like high energy and just constantly doing stuff, you want to be there.
That's true.
And I think it's, I mean, the saying, if you make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. It's true because it's a rough place and it pushes you to the edge. And for me personally, and I know it for a lot of friends, that's exactly what happened. But it's also, for me, it was the place where I grew the most. And
Right.
It was life-changing on a level I never, ever expected.
Yeah.
I thought I'll go for my career, and it might be life-changing for my career and not for my personal life.
Right. And I did the opposite. Wow.
It's kind of like the idea of getting comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in one of these big cities
And
where
New York is going to make you
Exactly.
really uncomfortable.
Yeah,
you,
because you're going to be living in a shoebox.
it's like the apartments are so small. Even if you go to a hotel, it's tiny compared to anywhere else in the world. It's cutthroat. Everyone's out there hustling. Everyone comes to New York or LA to make it. So your competition's higher. So I agree with that statement of if you can survive in some of these big, bustling, especially American cities, you
Yeah.
can make it anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really not for the faint of heart because I feel like people in New York versus people in LA are a little nicer with the way they speak to you about like how they feel about you. In New York, it's cutthroat.
Oh, yeah.
They will tell you exactly how they feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
We're
it's
walking here.
Right.
Get out of the way.
Yeah.
But it's also, you have to, because like I remember when I first moved to New York, like I'm more shy and I'm quiet and I'm nice and friendly. And I remember my friends started saying, oh, you got rougher. And I'm like, yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
There's no way around it, especially if you have to travel on the subway. That's going to teach you
Yes.
to fight for yourself, especially if you have to use the subway during rush hour.
Oh my God.
Oh,
With two-
God. Can't
with
even imagine.
2 suitcases.
Yeah.
You're going to learn to fight for
Oh,
yourself.
you will learn.
Yeah.
I remember I was like taking the subway to like a casting and I was like in heels. First of all,
Oh, yeah.
why? Okay, because I just moved there and didn't realize you have to bring another pair of shoes and bring the heels in your backpack. I mean, luckily I was wearing boots and not like stilettos or anything crazy. And I think I was like trying to catch like the 6 to Manhattan or something. And I was like running and then like I got in, but my backpack was stuck in the door. And so this guy's like pulling me in. He's like pulling me in so I can get in. I'm like, like freaking out. And like, he's like, Monday, am I right? And I'm like, thank you. I'm like, thank you so much. Cause like, you know, and everyone's like looking at me cause like the door won't close.
Yeah.
So they're so mad. But like this one guy was like pulling me in. I'm like, thank God for that one guy.
It is. And you know what? It is rough and people are like kind of rude, especially during rush hour. But there's also another side to New York. If you're in trouble, people will help you out.
They will. Agreed. They totally, totally will. Yeah.
Because they know the struggle. They've been there.
Yeah. I agree. And like the mixing pot of all the cultures too, like Chinatown, like all that food. I feel like that's not really here in LA. So I miss that.
Yeah, I miss that too, the mix.
Yeah.
Like everyone is in the same spot. It's not, because I feel here it's like all these different cities.
Yeah.
And like each, like the Asians are more in this part and
Right.
the black people are more in this area of the
Yeah.
town, and in New York it mixes together much more, and
Right.
that's one thing I miss.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like, how many nights can you remember where you went till 6, 7 a.m. in New York, and then now think of those nights in LA? Way, way lower in LA. You just don't have those moments where you just, the city gives you energy and you're like, oh, whatever, it's 4 a.m. I could go another round. You're like, I had a couple 7 a.m.ers in LA, so I can't say that.
Yeah, and I guess it just matters in like how long you live somewhere in like comparison. But I do know that everything is open later in New York.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
like, it feels normal because everything's still light. There's still...
Yeah, it's everything feels open 24 hours. Like you can eat at any time.
At any time. And you get a sliced pizza for $1.
Yes.
Where does that happen at in the world?
I think that was what my first memory of being like, oh, I love this city.
Yeah.
Because you can get food in LA at 3 a.m., but you got to get a drive-through.
Yeah.
Very special circumstance. And in New York, you walk outside, maybe you're at a hotel, maybe you're at somebody's apartment, $1 pizza, and everyone's out eating.
And it's the best pizza you've ever had in your entire life.
Yes.
Like literally. Okay, so last question. This is kind of a big one. Who has been one of the biggest influences in your life? I mean, it can be someone that you know or don't know, whatever.
That's a really good question. I think there's several people because we're on a journey and people come into your life at different times in your life
Yeah.
and make a huge difference. If I look at where I am today, the person that had the most impact is probably my ex.
Okay.
Even though it was a really messed up situationship.
Right.
I wouldn't even call it a relationship. But it triggered so much in me
Yeah.
that it really put me on a different path.
Yeah.
And I probably wouldn't be here and wouldn't be the same person without him.
Wow. I think that's important for other women to tell other women because I feel like a lot of the times when we associate our ex-boyfriends, we talk so badly about them. And we're like, I would never date someone like that ever again. Oh, oops. Oh, my God. Please leave that in. Please leave that in because last week I spilled a White Claw on his laptop and he's like, I'm going to leave that in. I'm like, oh, we're leaving that in. But yeah, I just think it's important because I often feel like, especially with girls who are in my age group and like today in the media, they don't ever really talk about like how the bad things turned into good things later. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like probably every bad experience, and you hear that from a lot of people, like even people that went through a really bad illness, later on say it's the best thing that happened to them.
Right.
Because it makes, like, it's the trigger to really look at yourself and change things.
Yeah.
And that's yeah, every bad experience I had was in the end actually good.
I agree. Okay, so we should probably jump into what Reiki is.
Okay. It's an alternative healing therapy. We're all energy. Everything is energy. And when our energy is not flowing right and gets stuck, it affects our health. Another way to say it is most illness, they say 90 to 95% of illness are created by stress. Stress can be physical, emotional, and mental. And it puts our body into survival mode and lowers the cortisol levels, and then affects your immune system, and that's how illness is created. And Reiki helps to not only let the energy flow again in the body, so the body can do its own work, but it also relaxes. I always say the least you get out of a session is relaxation.
Okay.
And relaxation is the key because it's the opposite of stress.
Right.
It will calm your body down, but it will also help to let the energy flow again and go to places and function, make the body function again the way it's supposed to. And the body is an amazing machine, if I can call it that way, and it can heal itself. But if we're in constant stress, we're taking all that energy to be in survival mode, to the fight and flight mode.
Right.
And it cannot do its function within the body. And I'm sure people have heard of the chakras, which are energy centers in our body. We have 7 of them, and each one is connected to an emotion, but also to certain organs. So if the energy doesn't flow in one of the centers properly, it starts affecting those organs.
Okay.
And it can be triggered by certain emotions. And emotions are energy in motion.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, we've had a couple random run-ins with Reiki. Is that the right way to say it? Reiki.
Reiki.
When I first moved to LA, one of my first gigs was I was a superhero. I dressed up as Spider-Man, Superman. I went to kids' parties. I did balloons, games. Most of the time they would kick me in the shins. It was like the whole 9. And one of the guys I did parties with, he would also dress up with me. And, he was really into Reiki. And he told me some kind of weird stories about it. Just he could basically turn women on just without touching them, like using Reiki energy and get their sexual energy flowing. And I just thought he was kind of a creep, honestly. So that was like,
kind of sounds creepy,
right? It was kind of creepy. So I was like, I don't know about this. So, and then we had a different experience. What was this place called, Court, in Hollywood that we went to?
Oh man, I don't know, but it's right across the street from Trejo Cantina on Selma in Hollywood, and I think it's just like a crystal shop, but they had like a little like area above it where they were doing like healings. I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, this place was fire because we didn't even pay for it. They had they said free meditation today. So we went upstairs to a free meditation, and it turned into a full-on, it was like 30 to 45 minute.
And just me and him, no one else showed up.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And so it was just one healer. She was a girl. She was pretty young too. And just us two. And I'm trying to remember exactly what happened, but I went into a deep trance. And then I think I kind of came out of it before Court. I think Court was like longer in a trance. But I'm pretty sure you were crying, Court. Like it was like,
Was I?
It was like, yeah, it was a weird healing thing where we both went really deep. But I remember seeing what the girl was doing with her hands while she was healing Court. And it was kind of like,
Pulling
it
things.
was like she was identifying the energy centers and like pulling it out. It's kind of what it looked like. Obviously So anyway, those are my 2 experiences.
Yeah.
And I kind of, obviously the first experience, I was like, I don't know if I believe this Reiki stuff. This guy Carlos, I don't know about him. But the second one, it was real, It happened to us. It made us both feel great.
Yeah.
Remember we got ice cream afterwards?
Yeah, I felt great after. I felt great. Yeah.
It might not have been Reiki, but there's so many energy healing modalities, and at the end of the day, it's all the same.
Yeah.
But the technique itself sounds a little different. But I own in my sessions, that's why I call myself an energy healer. And I mean, I do Reiki, but I not only do Reiki. It really depends on the person and what the person needs.
Yeah.
But Reiki itself is not really like a pulling out stock energy.
Okay.
You can do that with other techniques. Reiki is really, it's almost like charging your phone. Like your phone is dead, and then you plug it in, and it activates it again and charges.
Okay.
And that's what Reiki does. It's also what people sometimes misunderstand. It's not that I transfer my energy to anyone. I'm just here to activate the energy within you so it can flow again.
Got it.
And Reiki goes and does whatever you need and whatever your body can handle. It's not me and not you that decides that.
Got it.
Yeah, it kind of felt like an electricity thing because I know the body has an electrical system. And it feels like you're clogged in your energy centers and you're allowing that electricity to flow.
And that's also what it feels like for me. And that's why they call it like hands-on or like a hand healing, because you really lay hands on the body if you do an in-person session, and it works through the hands.
Okay.
And if I do a session, I can feel it in my hands also, kind of like electricity.
Yeah, like tingling.
Yeah, but then a session for a client can be very, every session is different for every person, but also even like if you have several sessions with me, every session is going to be different. In some sessions, you might just really space out and feel like have like an out-of-body experience. It can also just be that you see colors or have visions or feel certain things in your body, like your stomach growling, or it can also bring up a pain. It can also be emotional. You can fall asleep. You can feel nothing. Wow. Everything is right.
Wow.
So how does that work when you're affecting people's energy without touching them?
If you can explain me how the Wi-Fi signal works or how you can do video calls all around the world, same thing.
Okay.
Because it's frequencies and they travel. Energy doesn't know time and space. And I always say that's the easiest way to explain it, because if nowadays we can FaceTime. I can FaceTime with my friends in Switzerland. How does that work?
Yeah.
With this little device in my hand that's not even plugged in. Same thing with energy. It can travel. And I know sometimes it's hard to grasp. It was even hard to grasp for me in the beginning. And I always say you just have to experience it.
Yeah.
And then it blows your mind.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you get started?
I started, so I have to kind of go back a little bit of my backstory that I haven't shared yet. I suffered from depression for 20 years. I didn't have the easiest start into this life as a kid, as a brown kid in a white country, not knowing my dad, difficult family circumstances. So I had a rough upbringing, and then I fell into depression at a very young age, and I suffered from depression for 20 years. I had an amazing life on the outside. Like I traveled the world. I had amazing careers. I have the best friends. I still do. But on the inside, I was hurting, and I was hurting bad, and all my energy went into hiding. No one knew that I was depressed. At some point, I had suicidal thoughts. No one knew. And it started affecting, over the years, it started affecting my physical body. I had all kinds of illnesses. I had back problems. I had problems with the female cycle. I had surgeries. Like, I had all kinds of shit. I say shit.
Yeah, you can say shit.
Like, I had a lot of health issues. And when I moved to New York, as I said earlier, New York pushes you to the edge. And about a year in, I completely broke down, like physically, mentally, and emotionally. I kind of hit rock bottom. And that's when my whole spiritual journey started, because I was like, I can no longer continue like this. I have to do something. And that's when my spiritual journey started. I started hiring a coach and started working with healers. And I've heard of Reiki before because one of my best friends used to go to have Reiki sessions 15 years prior, but I had no clue what it was. And then also being a makeup artist for over a decade, I was kind of looking to maybe transfer into something else. And at the same time, I'm on my own healing journey. And I felt like, oh, there needs to be more healing for other people, because going through coaching and healing and seeing the progress I made within a really small time after suffering for so long. And then kind of turned my life around in no time. I was like, I want to help other people do the same thing. And then at some point I tried out Reiki for myself, for my own healing. And I was really fascinated. And then I was in a conversation with someone, and I was like, yeah, I would like to help people heal. Like, for example, Reiki, do Reiki. And then I was like, oh, I just said it.
Yeah.
I don't do that. And then I started it. I got trained in Reiki. And the funny thing is, like, well, it's not funny, but that's what made it for me to become a business. Is when I trained for Reiki in the beginning, you do a 21 kind of detox where you do Reiki on yourself for 21 days, twice a day. And at the same time, like just when I started, I had 2 or 3 cysts and a fibroid, and I was in crazy pain. And I have a long history of, like, again, I had 2 surgeries, like it was all messed up down there. So I had cysts and fibroids again, and then I was in pain, and I went to see the doctors, and I was scared that I'm going to have to have another surgery. And at that time, my insurance was still in Switzerland, so I called my doctor in Switzerland, and she was like, just take the painkillers, and when you come back next month, we'll look at it. And I have the ultrasound images, so I saw the cysts. And I just, in the beginning, I took the painkillers, and at the same time, I was doing the Reiki twice a day. And within 2 or 3 weeks, I was completely pain-free. And by the time I went to the doctor in Switzerland, everything was gone.
Wow.
On top of that, I suffered from cramps every month all my life. Gone.
Wow.
PMS, gone. Everything was gone. And the only thing I did was Reiki. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I have to do this not only for me. I have to do this for other people too. And that's how I started.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because I didn't really think of it too much on the physical healing side. For me, it seemed like almost meditation or just getting your mind right, getting your energy flowing the right way, and then everything kind of flows from there. But
it's all connected.
Yeah.
It's all connected. The emotions, the physical pain, it's all connected. And
Yeah.
I didn't know that either in like back in the day. But it's really all connected. And the Reiki, the good thing about it is it's really, it helps you with all levels. It's physical, mental, and emotional, and it's all connected.
Wow. So, what do you have to do to get certified? So you said the 21-day.
Well, that's part of so you go through a program. You have to train with a Reiki master.
Okay.
And some do like maybe a week workshop, maybe a weekend. There's all kinds of different programs, and you kind of learn the technique, and then you start with yourself, and then you start with your family or your closest, and then your friends, and then you start working on other people.
Wow.
That's kind of like the process.
Yeah.
Which makes total sense, because in the beginning it's also like you don't really know, and yeah.
And then how long does the session take usually?
It really, you can choose.
Okay.
My sessions are usually a little over an hour, which is not only the Reiki part itself, because
Okay.
I'm also a coach. I have a lot of conversation beforehand, because I want to know more about the person and what's going on in their life. And I have all this questionnaire to really find out what's going on. A lot of times I can already tell from the conversation, like especially how certain mental or emotional issues reflect in the physical. And then I do the session, and the session is usually I do like 40 minutes.
Okay.
But there's a lot of conversation before and after too.
Yeah. Wow.
But I can also do just like 10 minutes.
Okay.
when you said you do like a 21-day detox, does that mean, like, are you fasting? Are you detoxing from processed food, or are you just mean?
I mean, it's part of the training. Again, you start with yourself, and it's a 21 days where you do 2 sessions a day. And yeah, I think they call it detox because you should also like eat clean and maybe not smoke and drink and yeah. But it's not like a crazy, like what you call it, like juice or cleanse or
Got it.
yeah. But it's gonna clean you out anyway.
Yeah, it seems like that would be worth it just to learn how to heal yourself and your family.
And
you know?
it's really it's amazing because also, and I tell that to every client I have. There's also with healing, there's also a healing crisis because it's almost like cleaning out like the extra room in the house, where the clutter room.
Right.
If you clean that out, at first it's going to get messy because you have to take everything out, or even cleaning out a closet. First, you take everything out and it's a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to sort, and then you trash certain things, and then you organize it and put it back. And then it's kind of like not healed, but done.
Right.
Sure.
And the same is the healing process. If you go through a healing process, first shit's gonna come up, and you have to get rid of it and release it, so the healing can really finalize and can reprogram your body, basically.
Did you notice that a lot with when you're healing your family? Sorry, Court, that I'm making your life worse for just a little bit, but it'll all make sense in the end.
It's with every client, and I feel because I focus on distance session, and I feel it happens even stronger, and it's usually the second day after the session is uncomfortable. And sometimes I can already tell what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I always warn my clients, and I follow up on that second day to make sure that I support them. And so many also have said, I'm so glad you told me because I'm a crying mess.
Yeah.
But I know Angela told me it's normal, and it's really the next day you feel so much better. And it's also so important during that time, first of all, that you know and that you're aware. Then it's easier to grasp. You just know, okay, today is just a shit show. Everything has to come out. And then also make sure you drink a lot of water so you can really flush out the toxins.
Got it. Nice.
Yeah, it's a whole process.
Yeah, it feels like it. Yeah.
It's interesting that you brought up doing you're saying virtual sessions,
Yeah.
because everybody's locked down right now, and everyone's my health has been going down a little bit because the gyms are closed, and people are looking for ways to stay healthy and not be affected mentally by everything going on, but also physically. So how different are the virtual sessions from the normal sessions, like the in-person ones?
I think every session and every practitioner is different. You're always going to, I think it's also important that you connect to a practitioner. I've had different sessions and with different people, and every session is completely different because everyone brings their own flavor to it. And for me, I focused on distance session because when I first started, I was still living in New York. And you know how New York, you live in a shoebox. I had an amazing apartment, but it was a studio. And I didn't want to have people in my studio because my living room was also my bedroom. And I was like, I don't want that energy in here.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the finances to rent a studio. So I was like, what am I going to do? So in the beginning, I just did it on Friends. And I knew that you can do distance session, but same, I couldn't grasp it. I was like, I don't know how that works. How is this supposed to work? And then at some point, I think in one of my meditations, it was like, just try it and just do it. And then I started trying it on my friends, and the reactions were just amazing. And I was like, oh my God, holy shit, this works.
Yeah.
I did it. Mama, we made it.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh my God, this is genius. So I can actually have clients all over the world, and especially because I'm connected to Europe, I could have clients in Europe. And then after a while, like practicing in New York with my friends, but also doing distance session, I started to notice that, I don't know if it's for everyone, but I've heard it for other practitioners as well. But for me personally, I felt the distance sessions were more powerful. And in the beginning, I didn't really understand why, but then I realized, and again, this is my personal assumption, but I've heard it from others too. I feel because in a distance session, because I'm not there and I'm not touching you, or I'm not like physically next to you, and for people it's hard to grasp. So they're more focused because they're curious. They're laying there and they're like, am I going to feel something? What is happening? So they're more present. which allows it kind of opens them up for the energy to
Yeah.
flow even more.
Maybe it even helps them relax a little bit more because
Exactly.
they're home. There's
Right.
no one else
they're
around.
exactly, they're in their own space. There's
Yeah.
not any smell or decoration in the room, or even my energy that can interrupt them. It's their home and they're comfortable.
Yeah. Do you, because I see you brought crystals with you.
Yes.
We love crystals, but you know, a lot of people I feel like are non-believers. They don't really know like what crystals do.
The non-believers.
Yes. Can you talk about how that ties in to Reiki?
To be honest, I don't know too much about crystals. And in the beginning, I was also like, I don't know
Yeah,
what these rocks
we all are.
supposed to do. And I think it just changed once. Like the first time I held a crystal and I could feel the energy, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and since then I'm hooked, and I have them with me. I have them in my home. I like to give them to my friends, and it's also when you go and get a crystal, you wait till the crystal speaks to you.
Yeah.
By the way, Reiki is the same thing. Reiki finds you. You don't find Reiki.
Right.
Combined with Reiki, sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't. It
Okay.
really depends if I'm called to use them or not.
Right.
I'm an intuitive coach, and there's a reason for that title.
Yeah.
It's all about intuition and listening to, and just be guided by your inner voice. So
Yeah.
I use them sometimes I don't.
Yeah. I get that. Yes. Do you feel like, because we try to do like a lot of breath meditation, do you feel like that helps a lot too with Reiki? Like the breathing part of it, or?
Breathing is amazing.
Yeah.
It helps you with or without Reiki.
Okay, for
I
sure.
feel like any of these modalities help you.
For sure.
Breathing, that's also what I tell my clients, and I kind of force them to take more care of breathing.
Yeah.
Breathing is the most amazing tool that we have.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we didn't learn growing up how important it is and how life-changing it can
It
be.
is. Seriously.
And how healing, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
So yes, if you have any breathing techniques, use it during a Reiki session or any healing session. I always invite my clients to focus on their breath and also just become more aware of their breath, and I try to teach them to breathe deeper, because it's all about the connection to your body, and
Right.
and the easiest way is through your breath.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you were like day one and you're training to learn how to do Reiki, what would they teach you? Like what's like the most basic of basic techniques? Because it seems it's still hard to wrap my head around. It's like there's energy, but like how does it work? Like what are you doing during these? You know what I'm saying? Or is it just a lot in your head?
Okay.
Like are you doing? Because I saw that girl do stuff with her hands, but I'm like, are you doing stuff with your hands? Is it just the voice connecting mentally, like a meditation, or like?
So it's funny because when you first learn it, especially me, I used to be very analytical, nothing to do with spirituality. So also for me in the beginning, it was like, I don't know. And you just learn the hand positions and like activate the energy within you. But it doesn't really make sense until you experience it. And then also, because the technique is super easy, it's just really laying hands on someone and go along your body. And then people always said in the beginning, oh, you're going to develop your Reiki practice or teaching, not teaching, but yeah, your practice. And I was like, how are you going to develop that? You're just doing hand position. But what now, looking back after a couple of years, like my sessions are completely different than in the beginning, because I evolved as a spiritual being, and also connecting more to myself and to intuition and doing all the meditation and everything. So now when I do a session, I also am able to channel messages which I couldn't do in the beginning. In the beginning, it was just really laying hands on someone and balance their energy and let the energy do its work. And now, with my own journey, I'm more open also for messages and able to also recognize this message is for my client or this message is for me, and just being able to tune in more to the bigger, the higher, whatever you want to call it. They call it channeling.
So I'm assuming a lot of it's intuition, but the hand positions, are they kind of aligned with the chakras, and you're kind of going chakra by chakra?
Yes, but also that is not necessary. It helps, but it's not necessary. It's more like...
maybe it helps visualize it or something.
And it's for a process, because even, let's say, even if I'm at your heart chakra, it could also be that the energy is needed in your left toe and it goes there. I can't control it. Mm-hmm. Also, if during a session, it could be, again, same example, it could be if it's an in-person session and I really lay hands on, because you can lay hands on or you can have it above the body. Let's say I put the hands on your heart chakra. It could be that you feel something in your left toe and I can't control it and the client can't control it. So the hand positions are not as important.
Yeah.
Nowadays, also, I do still do the same hand positions, like starting on the top and going down, but oftentimes I'm guided to go somewhere else.
Okay.
Like, for example, the shoulder is not in the hand. What do you call it?
Right.
In the
chakras.
Yeah.
in these
breakdown.
steps. Yeah. Or it wasn't in my teaching. And sometimes I'm called to go to the shoulder. And then also in conversation with a client, sometimes it also shows why I had to go to the shoulder.
Right. So you're saying when the energy guides you, is there like a physical sensation that you're getting? Like you feel like a tingling on your hand, or like feel warm, or like after a while you just know?
I mean, there's different ways of feeling intuition, and I'm sure you've heard of these expressions, clairvoyant. Like some people see it, some like it's visual, some hear it, some feel it, some just know. I'm probably a mix of everything, but the strongest is probably just the knowing and the feeling. It's for me, it's a lot of times it's just a pull.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you have to go to the shoulder.
Do you feel like when you meet people, you can feel that?
A lot of times, yes.
Yeah.
But I can't control it. So it's not like, oh, if I meet you, I can feel all your shit.
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes I do.
Yeah.
Of course, with people that I'm closer, sometimes it can be really intense. I can't really control. I could probably, but it's like I just go through my day and I'm not like, oh, I want to feel your energy.
Right.
Sometimes it's just very obvious, because sometimes it's just very obvious because it's very good or very bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, and over the years it got really intense. Sometimes it's also very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because you always hear that saying that the more empathy you have, the more it can affect you when you're around other people, because you're absorbing their energy. So I can imagine when you open up to clairvoyant powers and energy, did you have a moment at first where you were overwhelmed?
Oh, yeah. And I started when I was still living in New York. So imagine you start opening up and you get on the subway.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
The subway got really, really scary.
Yeah.
And it's also like I can activate the Reiki energy, but sometimes it activates itself. And it can happen. And that's what happened. I remember the very first time I was standing in New York on the subway platform, and I was standing to someone next to me, and my hand started buzzing. And I was like, ugh, what's going on? That feels like the Reiki. And then like I looked around and I saw this person next to me. And then I asked my master, and she was like, yeah, that person probably really needed healing. And it's just, especially the subway, I had a couple of really weird incidences where I was like, oh, I just felt that. Or it's, oh, what is happening?
You're like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because Courtney actually has some clairvoyant energy, but she's overwhelmed by it. So.
Yeah, I'm overwhelmed by it.
And that happened to me too in the beginning. It
Yeah.
takes a while to feel comfortable, also to trust it, because sometimes it's also. And I remember, sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're fine. I'm like nervous right now, even thinking about it. Like my hands feel sweaty, and I'm just like, I don't know. It's
in the beginning, also during the sessions, it's like, you feel things, but then you're not sure, am I just imagining or just wishful thinking so I can say something smart?
Yes.
But over the period of time, you become more secure and you know better, this is very clearly this, or for me or for you. And the more you trust, the easier it gets and the more you can get. That's why I say nowadays I can channel messages and they're sometimes so on point. I couldn't do that, like not even 2 years ago. So just trust it.
Yeah.
That's my advice. Just trust it and don't be scared.
For sure.
And Matt, you said Courtney has clairvoyant. We actually all do.
Yeah.
It's just a question if we can access it.
Or want to access it.
To access it and allow it and then trust it. And the more you trust it, the more it can come through, and it's really magical and it's fun.
Yeah, I just think maybe at a young age I had a lot of experiences where, I don't know if it was because I saw too many movies or, I just had a lot of experiences where there was energy that I didn't like. And it was a lot of energy, like, I don't even want to say demonic, but it was almost like kind of scary. Mm-hmm. And when I was really young, I was so scared of it. So then I think I started to create this feeling around it that it was like this scary thing that was following me. Mm-hmm. And so now I've attached that. And as I get older, like sometimes I'll be like laying in my room and I'll just be like, okay, I definitely feel something. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure what it is, but then because it's dark in my room and because I'm like, alone, then I'm like, okay, this is something scary. So I need to go to sleep right now. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So maybe it's just trying to change my thought about it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know.
And when you, change your thought about it, and also know that you can protect yourself. If you ever get in a situation like that where it feels like creepy, first of all, just get out of the situation if you can.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to do that too.
Yeah.
And a very easy way, and the audience might love that too, is just imagine yourself in a white ball of light.
Okay.
As protection.
Yeah.
And have your crystals with
Okay.
you, or just find
I'm
something.
doing it right. I'm doing it right now.
Yeah. Are you?
Just something to protect you.
Yeah, last night I was telling him I've been having really bad nightmares recently.
So you came at the perfect time.
Yeah, you did come at the perfect time. Also, I've been feeling very weird lately. I don't know what
the energy is really intense right now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like I might cry right now. I don't know why, but I don't know.
Picture the ball of light.
Yeah, I know. And so yesterday I was just feeling really weird because I was like having like nightmares, and so I decided to stay here last night because the nightmare happened at my apartment in Hollywood. And I don't know, I just didn't want to go home. Mm-hmm. And so I like stayed here, and then I woke up and I felt a lot better, and I was just like, something's weird. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's good. You're already listening to it.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing that you can do, because
For sure.
It's a message from your higher being and your inner knowing. And your inner knowing only wants the best for you.
Yeah.
So the best thing is you can do is really listen to it.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid of it.
For sure. Yeah, we went to a party, and we're friends with some people from Mind Valley. Have you heard of Mind Valley or like Vishen and like Jay Shetty and all those kind of guys? Went to a party, and I had a healing in the middle of this party with this shaman. His name is Shaman Durek. And it was so intense. And it's funny is because before I walked up to him, someone said that he was a shaman, and I got really nervous. And I don't know why I got nervous, but I just knew, because my nervous energy was...
Shaman are just normal people too, Court.
No, I know, but I felt like maybe he could see me, and I knew that before we walked up, I was just so nervous, and I think that he recognized that. And so I never asked for healing. I never, said anything. Matt actually goes, well, can you just show us something and, tell us or like explain to us like how it is that you do this healing? And then he immediately turns around and looks at me, and I was like, oh, shit. I was like, oh, God. Like,
Gotcha.
yeah, but then, like, and I knew that was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen because I was being weird. And maybe I don't even want to associate it with weird, but I felt something that I was, like, detaching from the conversation because I was getting nervous that he might notice.
Yeah, you know how like dogs can smell fear? Shaman can
they always
smell
come
bad
to me.
energy.
I'm scared of dogs. They always come to me.
And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, okay, this is so weird. And anyways, I ended up having this healing in the middle of the party, which was completely unexpected. And I was like crying in the middle of this party, and like he was having like this energy source come through my hands, and they were moving, and he was increasing the speed in which my hands were moving. And I was convulsing, and like this energy was coming through, and then I felt like I was throwing up, like, but I wasn't. There was just something coming out. And so I was bawling, and I did not know why, and I couldn't figure it out. And he told me to speak to my ancestors and vision this white light coming through me. And so it was pretty crazy, to say the least. And then for a couple days after that, I was feeling very in tune, like being able to say things to people that I didn't want to say out loud, but like saying them in my mind and then them like doing them. And not to say like I was controlling them, but I was definitely like sending.
So you were Matilda.
Well, no. I was sending a message to them, and but I never said anything. I don't know. It was really intense, and then it kind of faded away.
The healing was so interesting because you just went into this other universe and you were communicating with your ancestors, but you couldn't really recall how you were communicating or what was being said. And from my experience, I don't even know if you remember this because you were kind of off into your own world.
Yeah.
But he was making like electricity run through your body, and he would do like, now you're hot, now you're cold kind of vibes.
Yeah.
And then the people standing around you, he said, now you feel the cold from her on your hands. And I felt the cold.
Really? Yeah.
So he was doing the healing on you, but somehow I felt the cold on my hands while he was healing you. So that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
It was very bizarre.
But again, it's all connected.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we're all one.
Yeah.
And like, we're all reflections of each other.
Totally. And synchronicities, and like, then just for like me of telling the story, that happened about a year ago. And then about maybe like a week ago, I had a test shoot at this girl's house, and my best friend, she lives across the street from this girl. Her name is Katie, and she loves her, and she always talks about her. I'm like, okay, fine, like I'll shoot with her. I go to her house, and she begins to tell me this story about this guy that she just shot who was a shaman. And she's like, I want to show you this book. It's The Shaman.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, what? And like, I have the book and I read it every day, and I read it to him. And she's like, yeah, I love this book. Like, you should totally think about getting it. And I'm like, this is not happening to me right now.
It was for you.
And it was for me. And then all of a sudden, she FaceTimes him while I'm there. And he's
Wait,
like,
you didn't tell me this.
Oh, I didn't tell you that. I'm sorry. She actually didn't FaceTime him. She sent him a video message of us. And I was like, hi, like I met you at this mixer, at this Mind Valley mixer. She sends it to him. He responds back like, I totally remember you. And you're like, how are you? And all these things. And I'm like, I wasn't even supposed to be here. Like, this is so crazy. So I don't know what's happening, but things line up.
And if you really, whenever you think about synchronicities, if you keep going back a step further, then it freaks you out even more.
Yeah.
It's like, how do we know these people? Oh, I was playing a show in Croatia, and this guy was randomly in the dressing room, green room area, which he probably shouldn't have been in. Yeah. Why was he there? Yeah. And he happens to DJ for Mind Valley events. Yeah. Bizarre. And that was like a year before that.
And then we become friends with him, and then he invites us to this party. We have the shaman healing. I go on a test shoot. The shaman's like, just shot with her. He was just there. And I'm like, these things are crazy. They're crazy.
I think it's magical.
Yeah, it is magical.
It's magical. And I love this. Yeah. Because I don't believe in coincidences. Yeah. I think it's all set up and it's set up by the universe, and the universe can put things together that we cannot even imagine. And that's why we should just focus on what we want and then let go and let the universe do. And then they put like you playing music at this event, like they put all this together that you could never have done. Yeah. And that's the magic.
It is so crazy.
And what you said something earlier, which I think was really interesting, is you said with a situation where you felt like throwing up. Yeah. that is very common. I experience that a lot when I'm releasing old stuff.
Okay.
So your body reacts. Everyone reacts different. You can also have, and that's the so-called healing crisis. You can get headaches. I react often like that too. That I feel like throwing up.
Yeah, it was.
Or also, like I had that on a shoot, like beginning of the year. It was also there. One of the talents walked into the makeup room, and I wanted to throw up.
Yeah.
And I had to leave the room. It was just like his energy was so off.
Yeah.
And then I was like, am I going crazy? And I walked out, and then I was like, let me go back in. Maybe it's just like I just had it in my head, and I walked in. I was like, nope, I can't take his energy, and I had to walk out.
Yeah.
What do you think that is? Is there a good way to handle those moments when you're around people that have negative energy and you don't want to absorb it? I feel like maybe Courtney is affected by this a little bit more than I am, because I can kind of just shut off my mind or put my mind in a completely different world, because I'm very common for me to daydream. So it's easy for me to just, I'm okay, they're doing their thing, I'm over here. Yeah. But for someone who is very empathetic, what is some advice you could maybe give them so that, somebody doesn't walk in the room and they vomit everywhere? I don't know.
Yeah.
We wouldn't want that to happen.
Yeah, no. I mean, if you can get out of this situation, like for me, for that example that I just said, thankfully we were a team of hair and makeup people, so
you just switched.
Yeah,
that's
I
smart.
could just sneak out.
Yeah,
I'm busy right now. If you can get out of this, if it's really uncomfortable, if you can get out of the situation, if you can't, again, try to protect yourself with, as I said before, as example, with white light.
Okay.
And then also trust that you are protected.
Yeah.
Just that idea of letting go.
If you can feel that you're in danger, and we all know how that feels, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
But if it's just like negative energy and just uncomfortable and just not a person you want in your space, but it's not like you're in danger, then just protect yourself with white light, and also know you are protected.
Yeah. It's very interesting because it's like sometimes you do feel like, you can't really, especially being the talent. I try to speak to everyone because I think it's important for me to also be a good person and to try and project that type of energy. But there is times where I'm like on set and I'm like, gosh, I don't want to be around this person. Do you know what I mean? Or I can feel something, or like I don't, but I also don't want to be judgmental. Do you know what I mean? I also don't want to be like, they have shitty energy, but I just can feel it. I'm like, I don't know. So it's teetering that line of kind of having to be around them and not wanting to. It's just odd.
And I experience, we're in the same position. You're just sitting, I'm standing as the makeup artist. Yeah. And of course I experience that also all the time, that there's someone in my chair and I don't like their energy. Yeah. And then, I just try to protect myself and just like kind of shut it down. And I'm like, I'm just going to do my job. I'm going to be kind. I'm going to do my job. The faster I get my job done, the faster I get away from it. Right. But just still be a kind person. And I agree. And we don't have to click with everyone. Yeah. And it's okay. Yeah. Totally. We can still be professional and kind to people and not connect energetically. Yeah.
It's funny because I feel like sometimes like I'll tell him, I'm like, I don't feel good about that person. And he's like, oh, babe, like, what did you say that? Like, it was fine. And I'm like, I'm not really saying it in the sense of like, I don't like them or like, I don't ever want to be around them again. It's just something that you just can't really explain.
Yeah, you can just sense it.
You can just sense it. And sometimes, we'll have people here from the podcast or just having people in our energy and like space. And then I'll be like, not for me. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to explain that to someone else, without seeming like a bitch, I guess. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yes, I totally know what you mean.
So, I don't know.
But it is interesting that there's a lot of people who aren't even aware of that idea of intuition or just understanding, I feel weird about this person. That's a signal that I should leave, or maybe I shouldn't hang out with this person a lot. Or
another thing, it just came to my mind. Another thing, how you can protect yourself is like have your crystals with you. Okay. I have these two on set.
Do you want to show them? Because I don't think they can see them.
Yeah, hold them up a
Yeah.
little bit.
This is just clear quartz,
Okay.
and then the black tourmaline, which is protection.
Okay.
And this
Beautiful.
is a clear energy. It cleans.
Are any of your
Kansas.
necklaces?
Oh yeah, I have done.
I mean, like they
Crystals.
look
Yeah, they're
pretty
so
fly.
cool.
Yeah.
What is that? Yeah, that looks fire.
This is a labradorite, and the
Oh, okay.
necklace is called Rising from the Ashes. What the Phoenix Rising from the Ashes.
Okay.
It's from this artist Pitongo. He does rings mostly, but
That's
he started doing necklaces, and each piece is handmade. And there's always a story. It's a whole ceremony to get his jewelry. This
That's
ring
cool.
is from him too.
Wow, that's beautiful.
So yeah, I have like this is Moldavite.
Dang, you're gonna have to hook it up after this.
turquoise.
You're gonna have to go
Like,
shopping.
I have
Yes.
all jewelry because like I love jewelry and I love crystals,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, I can combine the both. So
Right.
I have crystals everywhere. In here, there's
I
three
love when they're in
different
those
crystals.
things. Yes. They're beautiful.
Yeah, it's for me an easy way to have them with me
Yeah.
without like sometimes I don't have pockets or I
For sure.
don't want to carry a bag of crystals.
Yeah. That's a good way.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
whenever you see a negative person, you just ward them off like vampires. Like,
Oh,
get back!
Matthew.
Come on, crystal.
Oh my God.
Yeah, now crystals is one way to protect yourself. I just had something else in mind and it went away. It might come back.
Yeah.
in a minute.
For sure. Well, I feel like it's a perfect time now to play our little 2-minute, session, and I can kind of let you take the floor if you are ready.
Yeah,
Do you want us
sure.
to turn the lights down or anything, or
No, it's
you're good?
fine.
Okay, cool. So
It's got
you guide
nice
us, and then
mood,
I'll
you
play
know.
this whenever you're ready.
Yeah. So it's
Oh, him.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm always doing something.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, Palo
so
Santo.
it's a very short healing session. Of
Okay.
course, it's not a full session, but it's just to activate the energy within the audience. And I chose a 2-minute track that has high frequency, like a healing frequency, to support it. Of course, it's not a full session. And if you, the listener, just make sure you're not driving. And also because the music has high frequencies, don't listen to it over and over. Do not listen to it more than twice a day because of the energy in the vibration of the music. But I thought that would support the Reiki because it's just so short.
Okay.
So for the listener, make sure you're not driving. And then you can actually just close your eyes and just relax.
Okay.
And you can focus on your breathing. And yeah, there's nothing really that you need to do. Just make sure you're comfortable.
Okay.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be relaxing over
same.
here. Imagine.
Okay, I'm gonna play it and let's see.
Oh,
make
good.
sure.
Yeah.
you can open your eyes again. Oh, this was intense.
Wow, goddamn. That was fire.
My hands so sweaty.
Oh, it was even intense for me. Yeah.
Yeah, it was wow. That was intense. And I had a moment where I kind of had my last distracting thought go quiet. And then my energy just kind of shot up and cleared. I could just feel it, like my whole body just kind of relaxed.
Okay.
So it's always interesting when you do meditation or anything like that, and you're just like, okay.
I feel like that happened really quickly for me too. Like
Right.
I went into it immediately.
It's like
Maybe it's because we meditate often.
thoughts slowing down.
Yeah.
They're slowing down. Then it's like no thought.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I was just like envisioning things, I think maybe. Like
Then you
water
just
or
feel
something.
it.
Yeah.
For me, it felt like a super express, intense session. Like it was like clearing everything out and then just really calm down and let the healing happen.
Yeah.
It was super intense for me too. Like I almost cried.
Yeah. I feel like I'm gonna cry right now.
How you feeling, Court?
I don't know. I'm feeling weird, you guys. I'm gonna be honest.
Like weird, good weird or bad weird?
No, good, or unresolved. Yeah.
What do you think's unresolved?
I don't really know. I don't like just share all my deepest and darkest things, but I don't know. I've been feeling like something is going on, and I think I need a healing or something. You know, when you feel like something is. So I don't know. I feel nervous, and I feel like a little like hands sweaty, and like I don't know.
Yeah.
So just like general anxiety.
Yeah, but it doesn't really feel like anxiety, because I feel like anxiety kind of feels like worry. Like there's something that I'm like worried about. It more so feels physical. It's physical. Yeah.
Again, it's all connected.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, I feel like something needs to be released.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Like if I was like an actress right now, I could cue on command cry right now.
Oh, me too.
Like, and scene. Yeah. Wow.
But it's also, again, August is like the energy is super high and
yeah.
It's really intense. And then you are an empath and I'm with you in the room.
Yeah.
That can bring up stuff too. It's just like,
for sure.
there's a lot of energy in here.
Yeah, it feels like it.
And if stuff needs to be released, it can be amplified.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
Yeah. It definitely feels different now that you're in here for sure. That is something I definitely can say.
So you think multiple empaths can magnify energy in a room? Is that the idea?
I think so. Like, don't quote me on this, but I totally believe so. I think like if two empaths are in a room, the energy is just amplified. It's just like, that's also what happens a lot to me. And I told you before we started this that I did a session last week with a fellow coach and healer. So we're both super in tune and super empathic. So the energy was like off the charts. And just before we started, like we were talking on Zoom, and just before the session, my computer just died.
Wow.
Just completely shut down. It never has done that like that.
Yeah.
And that can happen a lot because the energy is intense.
Right.
Yeah, it's so.
Also, your camera shut down earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but that was me.
Was it? I feel like that's never happened, though.
I didn't plug it in, so
Oh, you
it
didn't?
was running on battery.
Oh, okay. You never know, though.
But I have become a believer in energy affecting technology once I started getting into Mercury retrograde and that whole thing and paying attention to it. And I would get so frustrated when something tech-wise wasn't working or travel issues were coming up. And then it was like every time I checked, it was Mercury retrograde.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that is, but it's real. I believe that.
And that's funny that you bring that up. And I can hear my friend like screaming at me.
What is he screaming?
And I totally believe it's real, but I think it's also the more you feed into it,
Right.
the more shit's gonna happen. And I try to not feed into it too much.
Got it.
and just stay centered. Of course, if all my computer, my phone, and everything is shutting down and it's Mercury retrograde, I'm gonna blame it on Mercury.
Right.
Hell yeah.
But I'm not trying to
Manifest
kind of,
it.
manifest it in panic and Mercury in
for-
retrograde, everything's gonna go wrong. No, I'm grounded. I
Right.
know how to be grounded and make sure I'm okay and I'm protected and I'm safe
Yeah.
and even if things happen, I'll be okay.
Yes. Yes.
For
That is
me-
very important to believe.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was one of those things where it allowed me to relax and be okay with if things did go wrong, because my mind works as such a control freak that the idea of cycles, and there's energy cycles, just like there's years, and just like there's cycle of tides, and being okay with the idea of everything isn't always going to be the same exact day. And you can't make it the same day. There's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. And the more resistant you are to those movements and energy,
the harder it gets.
the harder it gets.
Yeah. And it's also what I always say, because I'm a healer and I'm a coach. I'm here to support people to become happier and healthier. That doesn't mean that the challenging times are going to go away.
Right.
For no way. It's part of life. There is ups and downs. I always describe the healing and coaching journey or inner work journey, whatever you do, as a Super Mario game.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
you're dancing through the game, and then there's these challenges, and you fight them off, and then it comes this big one. But once you win this, you're gonna come to the next level, and then you start all over again.
Yeah.
And I think that's life. It's
Yeah.
the ups and downs, but you just get, every time you're going through a challenge, it's also an up level. You get to the next level, and then even when fear comes up, or in the challenging times, I mean, it's usually fear. I mean, the overall two emotions is fear and love. So somewhere there is fear in the challenging times. So whenever fear comes up, sometimes our mind and ego tricks us and thinks, oh, you still haven't learned the lesson. It's the same shit again. And I haven't learned anything, and I'm at scratch one. No, it's just going to show in a different color, but it's on a different level.
Right.
And then you learn your lesson and you go on, and then there comes the next challenge. And it might be the fear and the similar topic, but you're on a different level.
Interesting.
And it's also, or you can also say it's like peeling the onion. It's layer after
Right.
layer.
Right.
But it's always growth. It's when you're in a challenging time, it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
Even for me, it doesn't feel like it. I feel like I haven't learned shit. I'm at square one. And then the next day I'm like, oh my God, I learned so much. And I grew so much. Oh my God, I can take on the world.
Yes.
It seems like a lot of this work brings you closer to understanding yourself, how you feel, what triggers you to feel bad or negative energy. And through processes and work like this, you can better understand yourself, and just navigating those challenges becomes easier.
Yeah, I think life is almost like learning to surf.
We don't know how to surf.
No.
Me neither.
But it's been coming up a lot for us.
I guess we need to learn how to surf.
See?
Yeah, this is the third podcast that it's came up.
Yeah, because it's like life is like the ocean. It's waves.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, you're gonna stand at the ocean, and the wave comes and it hits you over like you're just out. And the next time you know a little better, you're like, oh, when the wave comes, it's gonna hit me, and you get better. And then you start swimming, and then you might want to start surfing. And
Right.
The process is or the goal is that you're going to start surfing the wave. But the wave is not going away. It's still an up and down. And if everything would be perfect, we would be at the end of our lives. And we don't want to be there.
True.
Or not yet.
Very true.
And it's just part of life. And the more inner work you do and the more tools you get, it's going to get easier to navigate through the challenges, and you can navigate through them faster. Right. And I think from my own experience, suffering from 20 years of depression, the challenges were long and painful. I still experience certain of those pains the same way, but I maybe experience it for 5 hours or a day or
Right.
maybe 2 days. But I have the tools now to get me onto the other side. It's really learning about how to navigate the challenges so you can get through them faster and easier and with more compassion. And then the joy part, like when you're on the wave, when you're on the board and surfing, that period's going to get longer, because during the time when I suffered from depression, I didn't experience joy or hardly experience joy. And now my life is more about joy, and then sometimes there's the challenges in the hole, and it's uncomfortable, but it's a short period.
Right.
And then I got back on the board.
Yes.
It seems like it's not common knowledge to be able to use your mind to change your state, change your joy or depression level, and learning these tools, whether it's I can do a Wim Hof breathing exercise and go from being stressed out and in my head to fully in my body, full of energy, ready to go. And the idea that that's not common knowledge, that's not something that we're taught at a young age, seems sad to me. Like, why isn't this something that we're learning at a young age, and it takes somebody 30 years to kind of fall into, and they kind of, like you said, fall into it by accident, versus everybody should know how to bring their body full of energy within 10 minutes without using any drugs.
Yeah.
That seems like very valuable tool to learn.
It is extremely sad, but I also think our generation, even though we might not be the exact same generation, but it's like our generations, this is the most amazing time to be in, because we now have the tools and we can learn it, and we can change all this, what do you call it? Like when it goes back.
Like all the trauma from the past.
Yeah.
All the trauma from the different generations, because just my parents, they had no access to any of this knowledge. And so they were just stuck in those dramas that was passed down. And we are a generation where we can finally stop that cycle and make it better for the next generation. So I feel like, even though, yes, it's sad that we didn't learn it as a kid, but our generation is amazing because we know both sides.
Yeah.
We learned
True.
what our parents experienced, and now we're at the point where it becomes more mainstream to do inner work and do healing, and we can pass it on then for the next generation. I think we're like, this generation is amazing, and this time to be in is amazing, because we're changing like so much.
Yeah. And I also feel like once you start getting on the wave of like meditation and all these spiritual things, then you start meeting other people, and without even you having to ask, it just happens. Like I remember like being in high school, like I've never meditated in high school, even thought about that, because it just wasn't a thing. And I know I would have some aunts who like did yoga and like meditated and were vegan. I thought they were so weird, but not like in a bad weird, but just like different. You know what I mean? And like being in high school and like seeing my aunt who was like vegetarian, I'm like, whatever, aunt, like, you know, and then now being like in my 20s, and I'm just like, wow, like now I couldn't imagine not having to think about all those things. So yeah, it comes in waves. It really does. It's interesting. Yeah. Well, I want you to tell people how they can find you, because I feel like that's important. And if they want to have a session, or your Instagram, or anything that you want to say, so that people can find you. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm most active on Instagram, and my name on Instagram is Angela Sulai, Sulai Kaeser, Kaeser. It's the girl with the little glasses and the curly hair.
Yes.
And my website is angelasulai.com. And I might have to add, I normally don't do single sessions.
Okay.
Because I believe you need more than one session to have long-lasting results. I actually just launched a Reiki membership.
Oh, nice.
For a very low price, because not everyone can afford the coaching. Because I also do coaching combined with energy healing, which is like a one-on-one 3 months program, but where we go really deep.
Yeah.
And not everyone can afford that. So I just launched my Reiki membership, which is like weekly Reiki distance sessions.
Yes.
But you can find all the information on my website.
Perfect.
You can reach out.
We'll drop a link too so you guys can
Yeah.
find her.
And
Yes.
that's amazing that people can do sessions with you anywhere in the world.
Yes.
So anybody listening to this, if
Yes.
you're like, damn, 2 minutes in and I was feeling like on cloud 9,
Yeah.
what would a real session be like? Hit her up, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and at this time, I think it's really, and it doesn't have to be Reiki, it doesn't have to be me,
Right.
but in this time, it's really important to take care of your health and your immune system.
Yeah.
And that starts with your mind, not only your body.
Agreed. Okay, so to sum it up, can you just tell us why it's important to tap into your own energy and make healing a priority in your own life? Just like a few words.
It's kind of like what I just said.
Yeah, no, for
about,
sure,
yeah,
for sure.
It's for your well-being, physically, mentally, emotionally, and life is happening right now, and it depends if you believe in multiple lives or not, but this life is happening right now, and everyone deserves to be happy and healthy and get the best out of this lifetime now. It's happening right now, not yesterday, not tomorrow, right now.
Power of now.
Yes. Bring it all together.
I'm wondering if all the craziness happening in the world today, with there's being rioting and protesting and the whole COVID, is kind of what we were talking about before, where everything's cleaning itself up. And now that more and more people have these tools to heal, we can kind of heal some of those past traumas of a lot of people in America that have gone through stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And it's actually interesting that you bring that up, because I just was thinking about the title of this podcast. I was like, oh, we didn't even talk about that.
Yeah.
And you're just bringing it up with what's happening with COVID and the protests.
Yeah.
And yes, absolutely.
Because it's like we're in a time where you can get COVID-19 and go to the hospital and they say, yeah, we can't really do anything for you. Take some Tylenol.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like now, like you said, all these people have more information, access to information. They have more tools to learn how to heal yourself. And we're in a worldwide pandemic, and health professionals don't tell you anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they especially don't tell you to take care of your health and boost your immune system.
Right.
But in general, this time with COVID and the protests and the topic around racism, as bad and as uncomfortable it is, I think it's an amazing time for us to up level on a collective and even on an individual level. Like, I can just share a short story about myself. I faced racism growing up, like on a daily basis. Growing up in a very white country, in a white family as a brown kid. So I had a lot of trauma, which every Black person has, from racism, on top of all the other shit that I had.
Yeah.
And actually during this time, during the George Floyd and the protest and all that, when everything kind of came up and it exploded, and we're in LA and we have helicopters and sirens all day long, and it was just like in your face, you could not escape it.
Yeah.
Me personally, I was able to release some of that trauma and really heal some of that pain of racism, which affects us mentally and emotionally on a deep level.
Definitely. I do think it's important also because, like, you know, sometimes, and you mentioned because we didn't really talk about it, sometimes I don't want to bring it up as much because it's just so always around, you know, and sometimes I feel like it's too around. Do you know what I mean? But then also there's like this weird balance of needing it to be talked about, but also not wanting to talk about it because it's just always such a topic. And as of recently, even like being friends with people and like talking to people who are white, and just like it always comes up, you know, no matter what. I'm always seeing it on Instagram at some point, and you know, Breonna Taylor, you know, the cops who killed her still aren't arrested, and just like sometimes I'm overwhelmed. Do you know what I mean?
And me too, absolutely.
Yeah.
And actually, it was interesting because I was going through another coaching program myself, because I feel I need to grow myself and learn more. So I was in the middle of a coaching program when this all happened, and I was kind of in the program that were like telling me to show up more and do more videos, and I'm like, I'm in fucking pain.
Yeah.
I cannot stop crying.
Yeah.
All this childhood trauma is coming up. I don't want to do videos. And they were like, that's exactly what you need to talk about. And I actually did. And it was the first time I even talked about it publicly. It was the first time I talked to some of my closest friends of what I experienced, or that I cannot talk about what I experienced because it's too painful.
Right.
But that in itself also brought certain things up that I shuffled down and wasn't aware that had affected my daily life. And I was able to release it and really come out on the other side. Of course, it's not everything is resolved,
Right.
but it was also a healing process for myself. And I also try to, like, I don't want to talk about it all the time, but I think in this combination with the topic of racism, and me being a Reiki healer, what I want to say is, like, let's not forget racism causes huge damage on the mental health. Yeah. And that's something that's not talked about. And I think for every Black person out there, make sure that you get support for your mental health and your emotional health, because we all have trauma. Yeah. And that shit is really deep. Yeah. And I really invite you to get support. You don't have to talk to every white friend and explain yourself and just talk about what's happening in the world, but become aware that you carry deep, deep wounds. Yeah. And you want to really heal a certain part of it. I don't believe we can completely heal it because it's so fucking deep. Yeah, I agree. But be aware that it affects your mental health, and the mental health also will affect your body. Yeah. And that's why I think how we can tie this all together today without going into it, into the deep details and all the ugly stuff. Yes. But just really take care, and especially for the Black listener, make sure that you're aware of that and take care of that for your own good. Yeah. Important. Mm-hmm. What a great message. Yes. Well, I feel like I've asked you everything I've ever needed to ask you about my life. But yes, well, we want to thank you for being on our show. Because thank you for having me. I was so excited. Yes, it's important that we like tap into like different fields. So I think Reiki and just also you being, brown, it's important. So that imagery of people who do different things and who are Black are really nice to see. So we thank you. And thank you. Thank you. And I just want to shout out too, because I was excited to meet you because Courtney was on set and she felt really comfortable with you. Yeah. Which isn't normal. Oh, I feel even more honored. It's so beautiful. Not that it's not normal. I'm saying it's not every time. Unfortunately, it's not normal. And I know what you mean. But, and I'm happy that I made you feel comfortable. You did. I'm happy too. Well, thank you. And thank you for watching I'm Not Racist. My Friend's Black. Thank you. Stop posting them goddamn motherfucking black squares. Shit don't mean a goddamn thing does. But what you can do is like, subscribe, and turn the notification bell on to our podcast. Tune in.